The Philadelphia 76ers are finally officially throwing in the towel on this season, and I would assume committing to trying to keep their top 6 protected pick this year. Joel Embiid has been ruled out for the season, reported by Shams. About time. I literally made a video sometime in the middle of January. I made a couple videos back to back, basically talking about why the Sixers should shut Embiid down and punt on the season. At that time, they actually looked to have a pretty good path to still making the play-in, and yet I still thought that punting on the season was a good strategy. And while it's not an outside possibility, I mean, it is still an outside possibility. They could still make the play-in, like it does seem possible still. Things have clearly gotten significantly worse in Philly over the last month. It's a disaster. Paul George isn't playing well. He just scored his first 20. He had his first game of more than 20 or more points in the entire month of February, like 2 days ago. Tyrese Maxey's been really good most of the time, but isn't able to do it by himself. They've actually made some decent additions. I felt like I liked the Quentin Grimes addition. He's been a contributor, and yet it just doesn't matter. This team's been struggling massively. When you look at the standings, they are the 12 seed right now in the East, 2.5 games out of the play, and they've lost 9 games in a row. They're 18 games under 500. We're about to enter the month of March, and the 76ers have 20 wins. They are legitimately one of the worst teams in basketball, and they have the 6th worst record in basketball, which is helping them out significantly. The whole goal here is to keep Chicago from falling below them, to keep a team like San Antonio theoretically from falling below them, to keep a team like Brooklyn, who is still playing hard, if not a great team, below them. They want to maintain this bottom 6 draft position, and in all honesty, they're only 2.5 games up on the Raptors. If things go perfectly for them, they could get a top 5 pick instead, and the difference of odds there of having the top 5 odds versus top 6 odds is decently noticeable. I mean, if you get the top 6 odds, you have about a 50% chance of keeping your pick, a little bit less actually, but you also have an over 50% chance, about a 53% chance of losing your pick if you have the 6th worst record in the league and need a top 6 pick to keep it. Whereas if they are the 5th worst record in the league and therefore have the 5th best lottery odds, their odds go from a little bit under 50% to about 60%. In fact, a little bit over 60% to keep their pick, and they'd only have about a 37, honestly less than that, about a 36% chance at losing their pick and a 64% chance of keeping it at 5 versus less than 50% chance of keeping it at 6. So this is, while I think a little bit overdue, the right move. Absolutely, because it gives them a serious chance of falling below a team like Toronto. Falling below New Orleans seems unlikely, but Zion's playing great. Maybe New Orleans starts to continue to play a little better like they have the last few games and win some games. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility if this Sixers team just totally throws it in. And I mean, they've played 58 games. They got 24 games left to play. If they go 3-19, like, they might have a serious chance to fall below a team like New Orleans as well. Either way, you want one of the Raptors or the Pelicans to pass you at least, so that you can have bottom 5 record and top 5 pick odds basically, and have a much higher chance, basically a 2-to-1 chance of actually keeping your pick. That is what I would want to do personally if I was the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm fascinated to see what happens for the rest of the season with this team, because I would assume that this also means, Tyrese Maxey's probably going to come down with a disappointing, his hamstring's hurt. We got to hold him out for a month. Paul George has a myriad of small injuries and issues that I'm sure that the Sixers could chalk things up to and absences up to and basically have him play very little the rest of the season as well. Although in all honesty, the way he's played this year, I'm not sure he's actually really contributing to helping them win very many games. No offense. I don't know, man. I'm just kind of at a point with this team where this is like, they're lucky they've been as bad as they have been for the last month, because they have tried their best to screw up any opportunity at keeping their pick, and yet they have been so incompetent, despite the recent activeness, maybe not truly health, but the recent stretch where they've had all 3 of Paul George, Embiid, and Maxey available most games, and yet they've still lost 9 games in a row. Like, it's about time for this to be the move, and they're so lucky that this is still a move that actually is viable, because if Embiid was playing a little bit better and this team as a whole was playing a little bit better and they were 3 or 4 games better than this and they were 24-25 wins, they'd be first and foremost looking at the 8th worst pick odds in the league, or the 8th worst record or so, and potentially making the play-in, which is going to kill their odds of keeping their pick this year. Like, it could be even more disastrous than it actually is. Now, this does not by any means bypass the possibility of them still not keeping their pick and finishing with pick 7 or pick 8 or something along those lines, where the 6th worst record in basketball, about a 50% chance it's either 7 or 8. If you're the 5th best pick, still got about a little over a 35% chance of 7 or 8 being your pick. If you wind up with one of those picks and OKC gets your lottery pick for free and you get nothing, oh my gosh. I mean, they might fire everybody in Philly. I think they might fire everybody in Philly anyway. I would not be surprised at all if Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey are not a part of this organization next season. But if they lose their pick, oh my gosh, this would be like one of the worst disasters of a season that I think we have ever seen from a team that came into the season with championship aspirations and then ends the season this badly. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it, in all honesty. I just think that it's absolutely insane that this team has continued to try to win games for this long, I guess is the way that I would say it. It just doesn't make sense what the thought process for this team has been over the past couple weeks, in all honesty. And I think they're extremely lucky to have the opportunity now to shut Embiid down and still have a serious chance, in fact, having bettered their chance of keeping their pick over the past couple of weeks. Embiid, when talking about him specifically, and Paul George to a lesser extent as well, they have to find a way to get healthy. If they are going to make anything of this core at all, this Embiid, Maxey, Paul George core, and these massive contracts that both Embiid and Paul George are signed to, with what, 3 years of control each left on? I think Embiid's more than that, 4 or 5. Like, I don't even know, man. I truly don't even know. These guys got to get healthy though. Like, they have to. Embiid, if you need surgery on your knee again, you might have to get it. And I'm just hoping this Embiid situation doesn't turn into Greg Oden and he like basically never plays again, because it feels like an outside possibility he's just never healthy again, and we never really see Embiid at any sort of consistent level at all for the rest of his career, and his career's over much sooner than people think. I don't know. I'm just hoping that doesn't happen. For him as a player, I want him to get healthy. For Paul George as a player, I want him to find some of what made him Paul George for so long and what made him so good. And you know what? In the meantime, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's unfortunate. It's depressing. If you're a Philly fan, this kind of has to suck, but at least y'all won the Super Bowl, so life could be worse as a Philly fan. Either way, yeah, going to be an interesting rest of the year for Philly. It'd be fascinating to see if they keep their pick, and it's going to have massive long-term implications, but at least they have decided to make the right decision now. Better late than never. With that being said, that's going to do it for the video. I hope y'all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.